Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Vuuqa podcast. Today I have a very exciting guest from Turnup.Travel. His name is Michael Njeru. Michael Njeru is a seasoned actor and producer in Kenya's film industry. He is the head of community at Turnup.Travel and doubles as a production manager at Turnup in Motion Crew with many years in the production realm. Some of his some of his skills include being an established award-winning film producer, director, and actor who has been involved in a myriad of locally and internationally recognized productions, like the much acclaimed Maisha Magic Sumula Penzi, My Two Wives, Jane and Abel, Santa Lal, Taxi Driver, Kelele Fem, amongst other series. Welcome, Michael. How are you doing today?
Hey, Horacia, I am more than well, man. It's a beautiful day, and of course, I'm here chilling with absolutely, someone who's an absolute amazing soul. So here I am. I'm excited for this engagement. I'm glad to be here, man. How are you doing?
I'm so well. I'm actually so happy I'm honored to be interviewing you and sitting here with you. Such a great guy doing great things. Let's jump right into it. I want to ask you about African travel. What is the current status? Like, how have mindsets changed or attitudes changed since the pandemic?
All right. So I'll pick it up from say just before the pandemic. Actually, in 2019, things had really picked up, and literally all aspects of travel generally. Before we segment it to intra-African or international or just within the country, it had picked up quite a bit, quite substantially actually. And it was for many factors. And naturally, when the pandemic came and hit us, or the globe generally, it affected, um, movement, which is basically the most basic necessity as far as all matters travel or hospitality are concerned, naturally. So the pandemic had, of course, its own adversities and its own fair share of the same. So it slowed things down significantly. People like almost like shifted all of a sudden from what next, because things were growing and morphing, and it was exponential at that. And then all of a sudden here comes a stumbling block, like a wall from absolutely nowhere, and people just have to like take a couple of steps back. You don't travel unless it's a must. You do so, and naturally that affected the industry as a whole. It affected tourism. It affected hospitality, which basically is one of the highest employers in the globe. Um, I think actually, based on recent research, I think 1 in every 10 people in the world who is employed in the hospitality industry.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of people whose jobs all of a sudden were thrown into pure jeopardy because of the pandemic. And so things slowed down significantly, and it's been a bit more than a year, especially in Kenya here. It's been about 15 months since we announced our very first case in the country, and we are trying to, as much as possible, work within the current confines that we find ourselves in, where we need to operate and we need to be out there, and we still need to channel all our energies towards tourism in general, and it's about morphing, I think. And from where I stand, I believe it's not that like the pandemic is going to go away, well, at least not anytime soon, but we find ourselves in a situation where you adjust and you learn how to. And I think it's a question of what can we do now, and what has been happening, say, over the last year plus, in terms of re-strategizing and reworking and rethinking the industry in its entirety. Yeah. So the pandemic, of course, has caused mad waves. A lot of the effects have been largely adverse. but it's been a question of what happens now. What do we do? How do we survive? And how do we move on? Yeah.
And speaking of what happens now and the survival, what about the attitudes of the people that you serve, and especially specific to African travel? So previously, I know there's been the move of let's go to Thailand because it's a lot cheaper. Let's go to Bali because it's a lot cheaper. But what about the travel within the continent? Have people are a bit more open to seeing what their continent has to offer?
Right. So my current mantra, as far as matters travel concerned, it's very simple. It's pretty much it's we're in a situation where we find ourselves in a very precarious situation, especially with countries whose tourism sector is largely growing or has been growing slowly over the years. Those are probably the hardest hit. I think for those who've been at it for a while, they'll still find ways to easily adjust and adapt. Largely because number one, when it comes to personal and human-based behaviors, right now, when a lot of people travel, especially if it's either for business or leisure.
Yeah.
They travel with an with a little extra to spend with regard to disposable income. So right now, people with no certainty with regard to the employment areas, and people basically losing jobs. Perceptions and the mentality towards travel just shifted, and it became one of those things that all of a sudden be deemed a luxury in a sense, where you don't move unless you genuinely have to, and that's because, again, because of the fact that it's a contact based
Activity.
type of pandemic, where as far as the disease and the virus is concerned, where the more the contact with people or in and around people, then the more it spreads. So
Yeah.
naturally, to minimize the same, people had to be to be either work from home or stay from home, or just not be out there. You see, when it comes to matters travel, again, as I mentioned earlier, there's so many people who are involved in the industry as is, and it employs people in the billions or in the hundreds of millions
Yeah.
globally. So at the end of the day, the perceptions have changed, especially here in Africa, because there was things were just beginning to take up more of a positive trajectory with regard to
Correct.
trying to visit, see what's there in our neighboring countries, or trying to move from the west side of Africa, say, and go to the south, and maybe go check out and see where the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Ocean meet down south, type of thing, um, or come to the Eastern Africa and experience a wild-based migration. The increase in inter-African travel pre-COVID had spiked, especially here locally in the country, and it was looking pretty good. So people are beginning to genuinely appreciate the beauty of their neighboring countries in the continent, and that in itself was a solid move, and it goes down to a lot of work that is going on with multiple stakeholders, with government agencies that are involved in the tourism and travel realm, and all the travel agencies and boards out there, and from where we stand, it's been a question of, okay, that has been limited because, of course, there is travel restrictions, limitations with regard to visa, and based on whatever, the countries are tiered based on the intensity of how hard COVID-19 has hit them. So depending on how intense it is, there's been a lot of travel advisories going around. So naturally, people aren't really traveling that much, say within country to country, as much as it had started growing, or it was promising to be. The prospects, as I mentioned as well, were pretty high. So it's just trying to see, how can we operate, how can we optimize, how can we do our bare minimums while trying to achieve this grand goal of empowering ourselves as Africans. Because at the end of the day, I think the mindset should be Pan-African. I think there's more strength in working together as a continent. Each nation has its own strength, and working together will only mean that people come out. It will mean that people can be able to push on. It will mean an emergence of even business, if not employment opportunities as well. It will mean that there's a lot of in terms of opportunity with regard to cultural exchange. So a lot is genuinely based or is hinging on the travel aspect of all matters to do again with tourism. So we are looking eagerly to see what's going to happen, and I'm pretty sure things are going to take a turn for the positive. With how things are going, we live in hope more than anything, but I think there's reason for genuine, uh, yeah, just staying positive and having those kind of vibes. Yeah,
So, Michael,
yeah.
I want to switch the direction of the conversation a little bit to turn up the travel, the brand, right? And the great work that you guys are doing there. I think one thing that is outstanding about your work is that this regard for sustainable travel and its impact on communities. Can you please tell me a little bit more about that?
Okay. So Turnup in itself is like an umbrella body. Turnup has multiple facets and multiple functioning arms. So we have Turnup.Travel, which is a travel-based angle that does inbound and outbound travel, that does hotel concierge, that basically does your customized booking. So Turnup.Travel handles that. There's a Turn Up in Motion, which basically I lead, where we basically use travel as an enabler and a touch point
Mhm.
to basically churn out content,
Yeah.
and either educational content or content for entertainment, or many times a combination of the both in terms as far as edutainment is concerned. So we basically produce our own content, and it's of course its main purpose is to basically create awareness and to bring people to the know, and to change perceptions, whether about a people, a place, a tribe, a culture, just to bring people to the know, like just so that they can change how they think about some of these things, or some of the things that we find ourselves even spoon-fed when we look at maybe sometimes how things are portrayed in mainstream media for sensationalism. So we try to use the power of media content to bring the truth about situations, circumstances, people, or a place, so that people are aware.
Are you able
um, the
to?
other arm, of course, is we have an arm of the company where you can through an online GDS based system, you can book your travel if you want to go, and you want me come to like where you are right now, Horishia. I can I can book a ride, or you can book a ride through Turnup platform, and you will get an express ride to exactly where I'm at, or I get a ride to where you're at. So that is called Turnup rides.
Mm.
um, and then we have Turnup Studios, which is basically your B2B agency, both content and travel-based liaison for both local and regional agencies that are working in the travel space, be it either in the content space or just barely, or in the hospitality space as well. So now, with regard to matters sustainability, what we try to do is, as a company, we are very sensitive to to work towards achieving the SDGs. And we're big in terms of ensuring that there is responsible consumption, and we're big in terms of ensuring that there is gender empowerment, and there is equality for all. So what we try to do is that we also ensure that in every single aspect of what we do, in the travel space, in all the trips that we curate, when we develop our itineraries, we ensure that we impact the community and the society on the ground wherever we go to.
Yeah.
That is a critical aspect. The reason for this is for the traveler, it's important for them to understand that it is so much more about them going from place A to place B. It's also about them going to learn about a people and leaving a mark. And therefore they know it's safe, for instance, in terms of values, they know it's safe to and they know that X amount also takes care of this aspect, which will go towards that community development project, or it will go towards sustaining a home or a society, or plugging into an existing initiative. And we are big on that as well. We curate our own, and we develop, or basically we work collaboratively with multiple players in both the private and government space, in terms of humanitarian based projects. And that is deliberate because we try to align, as I mentioned, we try to align so that we can be able to impact, we can be able to not just have a good time, because the name in itself can throw someone off guard. And you think turn up, you think about having a great time, you
Yeah.
think it's all about, but it's so much more than that. And all these things, a lot hinges on the travel space, a lot hinges on just the ability to move, so we try, from sustainability perspective, it's all about making sure that it's cyclical. It's not just about a person or a one phase. It's not just about going and coming. It's about leaving a mark. It's about enjoying yourself. Yes, it's also most importantly about ensuring that you are a part of a bigger picture, and you made a change simply by doing something as maybe as spontaneous as going on a trip. So that's what it's all about for Tana.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That was a jam-packed. Turn Up is like, wow, you guys are doing a lot. And I actually want to zoom in on a number of things. So there's you as a company aligning to the SDGs and making an impact into the communities that you travel, and you curate this trip so that it's not just about the turn up, but it's also about impact. There's something that you touched on around turn up motion and the storytelling and the power of the lens. What can you tell us about that, being a man of the film and production industry?
Right. So for me, and what truly and strongly believe in, is a camera or a lens, or just the ability to be able to tell a story, by using some of these tools, is absolutely powerful. What it does is, a lot of people, they don't, they they may not understand something until they visualize it. For most, it's how they function.
Yeah.
For most, they look at something like, oh, I did not know that existed, or I did not, that was not my perception about destination X. All I hear is about drought and famine. I didn't know it was like this beautiful
Mhm.
type of thing. And it happens a lot. So at the end of the day, it's about ensuring that we do tell stories, authentic stories, about what is happening on the ground. Say, for instance, a lot of the times when we're engaging with different communities, we find ourselves in situations where you're seeing people in their absolute realest, be it as far as maybe the plight is concerned, maybe it's absolute poverty, or maybe we are covering a story, and we are in and around a troubled area. Maybe there's interclan conflict and that type of thing. So what we try to do is, we 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 do not try we do not portray the negative. There's a difference between hiding the negative and not portraying the negative. It's about telling a story for what it truly is, and understanding why something is happening the way it is. So we ensure that we have both sides to any story, uh, so that we leave the viewer or the consumer having to make a decision for themselves. We don't tell you what is going on. We give you a general 360 perspective of what's happening, whatever we might be. That's how we believe to tell proper, authentic stories that are not, that are comprehensive and as final as possible. And we do this while, when you're dealing with minors or the vulnerable in society, we as much as possible make sure that we don't show them in a negative light. Say, if at all there's a needy family and they, the type of thing, or they need a food, We don't just show them there or like holding a plate, for the sake of,
For the sake of
just trying to push
content.
an agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's about making sure that we ensure that our subjects, whenever we are working on the ground or in the field filming, our subjects are dignified. When you're taking pictures, these are not for to showcase anything or to push an agenda. And the thing is, it so happens that when something is aiming towards the helping or sustaining or building a community in any sort of way, shape, or form, we always have a call to action. And the call to action is either to fundraise or to visit the place and we tell people why, if because we are there and they'll see for themselves. And based on how we document, people can be able to understand that this is happening at a particular place. So actually, the key arm that basically touches on matters humanitarian as far as TANUP is concerned is called TANUP for Good, and it's called for TANUP for Good for a reason. Like, it's basically impacting people positively, and that's the absolute bare minimum. So we try using the power of the lens to bring people to the know, to create awareness, to drive a call to action as I mentioned, in terms of plugging in, being a part of something bigger, and also basically also fundraising, as I mentioned, and just being a part of positive change and trying to create a wave of the same. Yeah.
Wow. So, wow, Turn Up Travel is a whole load of happiness right now. This Turn Up for Good, this Turn Up Motion, this Turn Up Travel. So, what is the full? It's just Turn Up and as the umbrella name, and then the different branches within, correct?
Yes, so TurnUp is the umbrella name. I don't know if you can say it's a TurnUp group, the
Group
TurnUp group sort of a
company.
thing.
Yeah.
But TurnUp is the umbrella name. It's registered as Turnup.Travel Global Limited because in essence, the travel aspect of it is the mothership.
Okay.
But we are so much more now. We are about almost 4.5 years old now,
Wow.
and so we are still growing, definitely. And as we're growing, we are also expanding, and we've been expanding so fast, and it's been steady. So as is, yeah, if someone says turn up, they'll know they're what they're talking about.
They
So
mean the
yeah.
entire group and summer. So that actually
Yes.
your words on your growth and how long you've been in the industry is leading me to my final question, where I wanted to know how big is your team? Do you perform all your projects in-house? And how can the youth, specifically, how can the youth and SMEs in Kenya or even all over the continent partner with you guys on your awesome projects around sustainability and just storytelling?
All right, great. Amazing parting shot, by the way. Love it. So so basically, as far as TANUP is concerned, TANUP in itself is we have, on the administrative side, we're a team of four.
Okay.
We're a pretty lean team, and we try and do the most. So we each have like key things that we are constantly driving, be it on the campaign side, be it driving an initiative, be it when you're making pitches or onboarding partners. We're constantly on the move doing something. And so whenever we're running a project, whenever we're running a project, what we try to do is, naturally, if it's a film-based project, the team basically grows. So when we're filming, um, the team can grow to upwards of even 20 plus people. So when depending on the nature of engagement and the project that we're working on,
Yeah.
because a lot of the work that we do is sometimes it's content driven. And when you're looking at something of that nature, of that, it depends on what it is that, as far as the deliverables are concerned. Sometimes you can be filming constantly for days on end. So depending on what we're working on, the team grows. But the team that is constant is that we are a team of four. And yeah, we are constantly looking forward to drive collaboration and partnership and working together. So people who are interested in working with us, they can reach out to us. Um, um, maybe I can mention the email address. They can reach us
Please
to
do.
us at
Yes, please do. Please do.
fantastic. So they can reach us. They can reach out to us at partnerships@turnup.travel.
Okay.
Yeah, partnerships@turnup.travel. They can submit their proposal or a concept note or just a quick message, and they'll be able to get a hold of myself or my business partners, and we'll be able to get back to them. And we can curate experiences, and we do that along with different people, people who are progressive in nature, and we move together and work together, and we try as much as possible to be there for them as much as we would want people out there to see what some of these great creative minds that are absolutely people are full of ingenuity and absolute brilliance. People do talk to us, and we can't do it all for sure. We can't do it all, but we try
It
as
does.
much as possible, realistically speaking, to plug into what makes sense. So I hope, and I'm looking forward to engage even with you, Horatia. I'd absolutely love that. I mean, yeah, I know you. You're an amazing, brilliant mind. So it would be great if you were able to do something fantastic together.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Mike, for your time today, for your brilliance, for your energy, and just even schooling us on one of the biggest things that I've taken away today is impact travel. Not just traveling for the sake of traveling, but actually seeing how am I giving back to the space that I'm entering and visiting. And that is something that I believe Turnup.Travel have got on lock. And the rest of us are just looking forward to learning a lot more from the likes of you. So continue leading and continue showing up. We appreciate you. Eh,
Thank you so much, Horatia.
Sure thing. So thank you so much for watching. This is episode 5 of the Vuuqa podcast. This show will be available on the June magazine, which the theme is around tourism and travel. The magazine comes out on June 8th of 2021. And have a read, have a watch. Thank you so much. Asante Sana. We're out.